Hello everyone, I'm Virginia Killmore and welcome to my studio. Today's card features World of Good Designer Series paper that is perfect for this kind of old-timey kind of card that features gold lines within the paper. It's really gorgeous. It has old world maps, really neat textures and colors, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So let's get started. So here we are, we have the paper. We're using a lot of things. And this card comes right from my monthly Stamp 10. This is a card we did this month if you're a member of my Stamp 10. The Stamp 10 is a group that meets once a month. They make one or two cards, usually it's two. You order something from the catalog, and then once a year, you get a chance to be a hostess and get the free benefits. If you're ever interested in joining my Stamp 10, let me know. My group is just about finished up for the year, but there's always room for you to come. If you'd like to come, you just order. You won't get a chance to be a hostess this year, but you can sort of get to know people, and maybe next fall when the next group starts, you could join us. So to make this card, we have lots of steps. And I got this card in a swap. I think it was Sue Dillon that made this card. I should know that, but I don't remember. But look at all that beautiful, bright, and shiny stuff. I've done a lot of the pre-cutting ahead of time, and we're using this beautiful World stamp set. So for the card, if you come to my stamp class, I have a lot of the stuff pre-cut for you. So this is what your little kit would have encompassed. I even have the ribbon cut and the cardstock all ready to go. I'm going to fold this cardstock in half and set this and this piece aside for later. And we're going to concentrate on getting our strips glued down on this piece of cardstock that's a little bit bigger than we need, but that's okay because we can always trim it later. So I'm going to take my strips of this paper and take a look at which side I like and lay them out. And remember that some of the paper will look similar, but then the other side will be different. See, that's the same, so maybe this side, I'll use that one. I like that. I'm going to put some copper in there. Sorry, folks. Sort of play around with how I want it. When you do the scrappy strip method, you alternate the direction of the cuts. So I'm going to start out with just this kind of a layout. I'm not sure I'm loving this yellow, so I think I'm going to flip it back this way, though this one had a really nice piece of yellow and it looked great, so I'm going to be brave. Sometimes I have to push myself to get out of my comfort zone. And as it is, it may not end up being in it anyways. So, yeah, I think I like this. Okay, so to make it, I'm going to put glue down in a strip. And the reason I don't put it on here is because it's going to hang over. And I'm going to start right at the edge. Okay. Then the next piece, I am going to put a little bit of glue on here, but I'm going to put it sort of in the middle of where I think it'll be, because I'm going to leave a tiny little space in between. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it looks like you can. If you're having a hard time judging where the glue should go, it's okay to put it on here, because notice I'm doing it on my silicone pad. It's designed to, sort of resist the glue So that's the only reason I like to use the silicone pad with it. I'm going to put a piece of copper down, and sometimes it's just hard to figure out if it's going to make it, so it's easier to just put the glue on there. And notice how I'm alternating. Whatever direction I go one time, I go the opposite direction next time. Now I'm not too worried if I don't have enough cardstock or designer series paper, because I am lopping off some of this at the other end, but it looks like I'm going to have plenty. Okay. I'm still scared of that yellow. I think I'm going to end up with this one right here. And I will put the yellow in, but I don't know if it'll actually show up because I'm going to chop off some. So I only need a little bit right here. But because I'm chopping off some, I may not even see it. I don't know why the yellow scares me, but it does. So now I've got my stuff all glued down. And I think what I'm going to do is work on this part and then come back to that when it's a little bit more dry, just because I want to give it some time, and I need to poke out these little pieces anyways. So I'm going to poke out all these little pieces from the world map. I think it's interesting that this is sold all over the world. We sell to Australia, Europe, and all over Europe, and nothing in South America. But think about that the world map comes in two pieces, this North America and South America, and then Asia. And I'm thinking, well, I live in the United States, so I want this map. But I'm thinking, well, if you live in Australia, you might want the other map. So it just depends on where you live, doesn't it, or Europe. We always want what's our home. So I'm going to concentrate my glue on these two pieces because I don't want to have a lot of glue in other spots. And again, I'm putting very little on, dot, dot, not a lot. When I say that, I literally don't squeeze the glue. I leave whatever's left on there to come out. And then I'm going to lay that on here and let that dry. Now, I could at this point use this on here like this if I was happy, but if you notice in the card, it's been stamped. So I am going to show you how to do that. We're also going to do some embossing, which is something I rarely do, but I think is fun. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it. I'm going to stamp it twice. Okay, I'm happy with that one. Bring in my little cutter. Set this aside to continue drying. Cut out this little piece. With this little die. And if you are a person that struggles to keep your pieces in place, you can use washi tape. Of course I can't, oh, there it is. I like to use washi tape once in a while, especially with something this tiny, because it tends to move. It's just a little tip. I want the magnetic plate, but I haven't gotten it, and I don't even know if we can order it right now. There was a problem with it. See how good I did. Oh, they came out really good. Okay, so now I can set that aside. Put my Stamp and Emboss machine away. I love the little one. It's so nice to have something right on my desk. It closes up, it sits right here on my desk. So this and the world will stay together. So now what we need to do is our sentiment. And that's done with something called embossing. And I don't love embossing just because I hate the loud noise, but it's so pretty. So I'm going to have to break down and do it for this. And I don't show it enough so you wouldn't be able to know how to do it unless I show it to you. So I start out with something called an embossing buddy. This just takes all the fingerprints off, sort of gives you a nice clean base to start with. Our fingers carry oils that we don't realize. So I keep that always on my desk, ready to use. And then we use something called Versamark, which is a sticky ink. It's actually sticky in the sense that it will pick up the little pieces of embossing powder. And I really inked it well. And now I'm just going to try to get it on there really good. Because you get one shot at this. I'm leaving it on a few extra seconds. Looks like it did real well. And I always keep my embossing powder in these tins because you don't need a lot, but you need enough to cover your letters. Now, once I got it on there good, I can sort of check it over. And I like to flick it from behind. And then if I have some spots that I'm not real happy with, and I can see I'm not happy with that, I'm going to just take those little spots and clean them up. They will show up later if I don't. Let's see if I can get some of that off. That looks pretty good. Get one more little hit right up top here on that B there. Oh, but then my finger hit this other letter. And now it's just a comedy of errors. Okay, that's good. I need to just be happy. I'm not perfect at this. And hence you see why I don't love embossing, because I seem to make mistakes. So now the embossing part that's hard is that I'm going to be using a hot heat gun. So I need to hold this down in place, and I'm going to use my embossing gun to heat it. And I'm just going to keep heating it until it starts to change, and it will all of a sudden just go. Starting to go now. You probably can't see it real well, but okay, I think I got it. It just sort of all melts all of a sudden, and it just becomes plastic and really pretty. I always love using that heat gun because it reminds me of my good buddy Marilyn, who passed away years ago. We used to stamp every week together, and she had breast cancer and passed away, which was tough. So now what I'm going to do is something called fussy cutting, and I'm just going to sort of cut around the shape. I'm not going to cut it perfectly. I'm going to do the best I can, but it's just a way to sort of accentuate the writing. And you can do as little cutting as you want. Now, I could have just put it on there. The only reason I like the fussy cutting is it allows those papers to show through. If you don't fussy cut, then you don't see as much of those beautiful papers. And I figure you spent money getting those papers, you might as well make it visible. And there you have it. There's the fussy cutting all done. Okay, and now I'm ready to put my card together. I just need to cut off all these pieces, and I find it easiest to cut it with a pair of scissors. I mean, I can use my chopper, but I have a tendency to make mistakes. So I just find it easier to hand cut it. I will chop off the section that's too big. Okay, so we'll get rid of those pieces. I wonder if I can come up with a card with those little pieces. And so the first thing I have to do is trim this down to fit. Oh, there will be just a tiny bit of yellow, but not a lot. So I will cut that down to, I think it's 5 1/4. Yep, 5 1/4. That little piece right there. And now I'm ready to put my card together. I'm going to put this across here. And I don't have the belt buckle that you see in this card. I gave them all away. So we're not going to use it. We're going to just use my Stampin' seal to get that down. Okay, see how that comes right down to the edge. Well, if I put it there. This ribbon is really interesting. It's almost like leather, but not quite. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to actually place it on here. We're going to glue it on here. And I probably could have gone around the piece of cardstock, but I'm noticing I have cut it just ever, no, it's good. So I'm going to glue that down here. I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal. And you know what I just decided? I'm going to make that go around the whole card front. And then I can just sort of control where it is. I just made an executive decision that it would look better that way. Okay, so now I can control a little bit more how it covers up the edges. I found too that I like to use the ribbon to cover up maybe an edge I don't think I did so well on. So I'll just sort of cover up parts I don't like. Okay, that's good now. Not completely, it wasn't straight there. Okay, so now instead of just gluing it on here, I'm going to dimensional it. So when you dimensional something this big, you want the bigger dimensionals, and you want them on all four corners. And then to give a little bit of lift in the center, I sort of go like half off. And for me, the hardest part is centering it perfectly on my cardstock. So I'm going to bring my cardstock in and see how good a job I can do. Maybe I should use my bone folder first. Or did I already once? That just makes it lay down a lot better and give me more precision. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we need our world, which is also going to be dimensional, and so is the little thing that raises up the world. And I think what I'm going to do is put that piece down first and then put the world right on top of it, because it is tricky to get it to lay right. And I like to use all my little pieces, so I cut them right up. Put one here. I am going to use one right here. Just going to have to be super careful about how it goes on there. That looks good. So I'm going to lay this first on here and then get my globe on top of it, so it sits nicely on top of the world. There. Doesn't that look nice? Then we just need our sentiment to be, I think I'm going to stick with this. I like using these big pieces because then I can use them, the leftover pieces, because then I can use them for something like that where I need a large piece. And there you have it, today's card, laid out beautifully with this World of Good Designer Series paper. I hope you've enjoyed. Tomorrow is Fast Card Friday, and I hope you'll join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock to see that card. Have a great afternoon, and thanks for watching.